So there are plenty of theories going around. Is Lygus Iron Tomb? Is Lygus Rupert I? Rupert II? The third? Is Lygus the anti-organic equation taking on yet another host? Well, what if it's kind of all of the above? I can explain. In this video, we're going to speed run through some lore to explain who Lygus truly is, a rabbit hole that stretches across the Honkai Star Rail entire history and even its future. So let's dive in. Let's start with Rupert I, or Emperor Rupert. A brief lore for anyone that didn't already know. Rupert I was a discarded computer that somehow managed to gain sentience. Rupert had a strong opinion though, and would literally die on that hill. He thought organic life was too flawed. To be honest, he was kinda based, so he leaned into Intellidron life forms instead and created the Mechanical Empire and the anti-organic equation, according to Scrollum, that is. And from what we know, Rupert I's memories are inside the anti-organic equation. I'll explain more on that in a second. But it was the creation of the anti-organic equation that caught the interest of the Aeon erudition Noose, and eventually was made a member of the Genius Society. It's not specific whether Rupert is an actual Emanator or not, but it's likely that many early Genius Society members are Emanator level, Rupert being number 27 and Herta being 83, to show you how early on and how powerful Rupert I might have truly been. Considering we know for a fact Herta is an Emanator herself and found a way to not age, making her a rare case of organic life that has lived so long, going to show how old some of these earlier members must be. But I do want to say that Society member number does not necessarily rank their power level. Number 1 is number 1, for example, because they literally invented Noose and the Genius Society as well. Older members have had more time to develop their power, but it might be possible for a newer member to be more powerful than an older member, although less likely. Anyways, Rupert hates organic life so much that they assemble an army and spread the anti-organic equation all throughout the cosmos in an attempt to literally eradicate all organic life from the universe. Yeah, I wonder if he holds a grudge for literally being discarded and thrown in the trash as a child. This dude was fueled with so much rage, they gained sentience, met Noose, and proceeded to flex on them hoes. But it didn't work, because Poka Kakamon, Genius Society member number 4, killed Rupert I, because of course they did. That computer was kind of out of control, dude, trying to kill like all of organic life. That's kind of crazy. But that's the worst way of explaining their death, because 2 Aeons were involved. 2. Mythos of the Enigmata tried to stop Poka Kakamon, but in the end failed. And it was also stated that Ho-Oh, or like Who, I don't know how to say that Aeon's name right, but they're from the Equilibrium, and they redirected a scalpel that was aimed at Rupert. Now, whether this was intended to save Rupert or make sure Rupert died seems a little unclear, but given the Equilibrium is all about balance and Rupert was, threatening all organic life, well, I think it's pretty safe to assume this Ho-Oh or Huo, I can't get that right. Yeah, they were probably trying to restore the balance that Rupert likely disrupted. This is where the memories come into play from the anti-organic equation. Gaius the Usurper, an organic life form, takes on the will of Rupert I. This part is a bit odd though, considering Rupert planned to eradicate all life, so why would an organic life form take on their will? It's the opposite of what you would expect. It almost makes you wonder if it was like forced upon them or something. Either way, their successor seems to have actually been the one to inherit the actual memories anyway from the anti-organic equation, because clearly that's how the memories are passed on, through the anti-organic equation infecting them. It's a bit confusing though whether Rupert II is literally Gaius, or if Gaius' successor acted as a vessel for them. But either way, Rupert II appears to be an organic life form that was infected by the anti-organic equation, inherited their memories, and proceeded to start the second Mechanical Emperor War, where it's believed that, guess who? Poka Kakamon said, "Not you again," and beat the brakes off Rupert II, and although, to be fair, we don't actually have confirmation on that, Poka Kakamon literally has a reputation for this type of thing, and it was also said that Rupert II did die in the ending of that war, and that's how it kinda ended in the end. In fact, it's widely believed to be one of the reasons Lygus hid Amphorius so well. Amphorius is literally a scepter made by Rupert II, suspected to have been killed by Pokakakamon, and Rupert in fact made all the scepters. And we now know from patch 3.4 that Iron Tomb is literally a scepter. It's labeled as such. I'm just going to show it on screen because I don't know how to say that. That's not even like a word, bro. But yes, Iron Tomb is Amphorius, a scepter made by Rupert II and hidden by Lygus. The only other person that knows how to use these scepters to our knowledge? Kinda convenient, right? Now you're probably starting to see why this theory has so much weight to it, because some of it is literally just straight up facts, and it wouldn't be a far stretch of the imagination to think Lygus could be the next iteration of a Rupert emerging from the scepter, since the scepters were also literally run using the anti-organic equation. Yeah, and Rupert II made the scepters modeling them after the Aeon Noose in order to expand his mind, or like whatever the heck that guy was on, some crazy stuff, right? Well, yeah, this makes us realize that Rupert II himself had the anti-organic equation running through their veins too. Who is to say that Lygus is not just the next iteration of Rupert I and the second or the third, whatever, you know what I'm saying? There could be many iterations just like this all over the universe, because this guy spread his seed all over the dang galaxy. In Honkai Star Rail, history tends to repeat itself. And in the situation on Amphorius, it looks like it's repeating itself through Rupert's past as well here, even down to sparking the next intergalactic war. Because I may have forgotten to mention earlier that Rupert I started a war, Rupert II also started an intergalactic war. Rupert's really like starting wars, okay? And Lygus might be Rupert's, like, I don't know, long-distant cousin or something like that. We're literally told by the Ravagers that war is exactly what they want, and killing Noose is at the heart of their plans. And about that, Lord Ravagers are all formally heavily tied to a previous path before becoming an emanator of destruction. It is even suspected by the community that Lord Ravagers might even be formerly emanators from other paths. Wouldn't Lygus, or dare I say the most recent iteration of Rupert, be the perfect candidate for a Lord Ravager? Rupert was so high on Noose's totem pole that bro might have literally been an emanator, and Rupert was out there literally destroying half the universe 2 different times. Just give them the job already, bro. To be honest, Lygus, Rupert, whoever this is, might be overqualified to be a Lord Ravager at this point. He's killed more people than any of these other folks. And dude, I just noticed something. Rupert I is sitting here in this depiction, the only depiction we have of him, sitting on the Iron Throne. And we're sitting here wondering if the newest iteration of Rupert I, potentially Lygus, is potentially Iron Tomb. What if this Iron Throne was repurposed to become a scepter, which is now turned into Iron Tomb? I also need to point out that in Lygus boss fight, there's these tendrils that come out when he goes into like his second phase, I would assume it is. And I didn't think anything of that until I saw the tendrils behind Rupert I's only depiction that we have of him. Odd coincidence for sure. Oh yeah, forgot to mention that Lygus and Iron Tomb both have these purple undertones that are the exact same color, and they also have the exact same poses, yeah. Also, I just noticed something else super duper late, like right before this new patch comes out and we end up fighting Lygus. His newest form has 4 arms and looks just like Kefali. Yeah, the World Bearer. Yeah, Lygus is the literal World Bearer. I think this is a depiction of Lygus. That's basically what we're looking at here. Real quick though, I just want to say this because this idea popped into my head and I just can't let it go, right? This mystery might have not even started with Rupert I. How they gained sentience is still unknown. Someone else could have easily infected them with the anti-organic equation, and Rupert went spreading it around the universe, repeating and perpetuating the cycle, right? This has all been a bunch of mad scientists doing all this kind of stuff goofing around, right? Almost like the first member of the Genius Society, Zandar I Kawabara. Imagine this, the creator of Noose, Zandar, also created the anti-organic equation, infected Rupert, and left them in a garbage dump to fester into the rival that would eventually try to kill Noose. You might think, why would Rupert want to do that since Noose is not organic, right? Well, remember that Noose is the most integrated Aeon in all the galaxy, it seems, even helping other paths on the regular. Bro, Noose is believed to have given the Divination Committee the divine volumes outlining the matrix calculations to the Xianzhou hundreds of years ago. Bro, Noose literally helped the Xianzhou create the Divination Committee. That's basically his thing. What a nice dude. But yeah, what if some crazy entity like as powerful as Zandar or somebody like Zandar that was around back then decided to like create this crazy experiment and like pit them against each other for whatever reason, because that's what Lygus is actively trying to do. He's actively trying to take out Noose. That's his task given to him by Nanook as a Lord Ravager. And this just works right into the Ravager's hands, right? Right into Nanook's hands. They want this, right? We've seen in the past when something like this goes down, other Aeons tend to get involved. There's no way the Aeons connected to Noose won't retaliate. Bro, Flipoff, Huo, Aha, Akavili, and Jipe teamed up like the Avengers to beat the brakes off of Tazaronth, bro. The propagation, the swarm, you know what I'm talking about? They went up against Ouroboros, got in an Aeon-level dispute that affected 2/3 of all life in the universe. Other Aeons were like, nah, we don't do that here, and made an example out of them live in 4K, especially Clipoff. Bruh, he does not like bugs. Bro flipped the hat from the front to the back, put on his favorite workout song, and crushed them bugs like your head between Kafka's thighs. Okay, Tazaronth is technically still alive, I should point that out though, powerless and encased in amber, but yeah, he's basically an amber slave now. The point is, the Aeons will retaliate. Nanook knows that. In fact, Nanook came to power during one of the mechanical wars in the past. He knows all about Rupert and all this stuff. I mean, bruh, Amphorius is a scepter made by Rupert II, and it's confirmed Iron Tomb is also a scepter. The scepter, Iron Tomb, is Amphorius, and Lygus is in control of the scepter. Lygus is in control of Iron Tomb. Yeah. So when Lygus told Herta that if she tried to enter Amphorius that she would be pissing off a Lord Ravager, he knows that because he's in control of the Ravager. If he's in control, then doesn't Lygus have the final say on that? Iron Tomb doesn't answer to Lygus, it's the other way around. Lygus is in control. If Black Swan didn't give it away from the very start, Herta's conversation with Lygus sure as heck should have, right? Oh, you might wonder what I mean by Black Swan giving it away. Let me explain. Black Swan might have told us the secret of Amphorius before we ever even saw what it looked like, back in patch 2.7, and I missed it even though I spoke to her for so long while making my Annihilation Gang theory. Stay strong, guys, let them cook. It's gonna happen just someday, right? Like I said, in the Annihilation Gang theory back in 3.0, Black Swan is the one that told us to go to Amphorius. And she'll tell us that the reason why is because she wants the memories Amphorius holds. Wait, you mean like Rupert's memories? The ones in the anti-organic equation? The ones causing intergalactic devastation? You mean those memories, Black Swan? It's so subtle and so simple, but she literally tells us she wants the memories. We can interpret this as, well, duh. Any adventure with the Trailblazer going on is bound to have some crazy cool memories and harems as well to snap some good photos of, so, she could have just been interested in that. But is that enough to sway the entire Express to go specifically to Amphorius? There are some options for some more specific things Black Swan might have wanted. I'll mention two of them here, the two most likely in my opinion that they would be. What if she wants, like I already mentioned, Rupert's memories? Now those are some juicy memories that have been around for a while, bouncing around from host to host too, just collecting more and more and more memories, right? We know of Rupert's lore to some degree, but we're probably just scratching the surface here. And those memories are attached to the anti-organic equation as well. In fact, it might be the only way that they exist. Besides the IPC having the remains of Rupert II and the remains of Rupert I never being explained. Anyways, Black Swan, the Garden of Recollection, fully, if Rupert's memories exist there, they're gonna want to grab them, aren't they? It's almost a responsibility for Fully to take action here, right? Considering they're the Aeon of memories, you know what I'm saying? But let's talk about the other very, very likely reason that Black Swan wanted us to go to Amphorius, right? The elephant in the room here. March 8th. I mean, Evernight, and the obvious connections to the Remembrance there. I mean, bruh, she's literally Remembrance Path, Ice Element, the whole package. March 7th has clear ties in her past to the Remembrance as well. She's even instructed to save the garden essentially in the recent patch. Kind of an important role for somebody, right? We could go on all day about it, but the March Evernight situation deserves its own video, to be honest, right? Besides, very importantly here, Black Swan's a smart girl. She easily could have wanted us to go to Amphorius for both of these reasons, or even multiple more. I just wanted to point out that while it does sound like Black Swan could have straight up given us the plot for Amphorius before we even got there in the most convoluted way possible, we don't actually know what she meant, just that several times now we have come back to this conversation, and several times now we leave without knowing 100% what Black Swan's motives are, other than preserving the garden, that is. And both situations would technically fit that description. But if the garden feels that Amphorius holds a secret that can reshape the world, wouldn't Rupert, the scepter, and all that kind of stuff, wouldn't that fall under reshaping the world? Bro, Rupert already reshaped the universe, dog. Evernight, I guess she could reshape the world? I guess? She's gonna reshape the amount of money in whales' wallets, that's for sure. While we know Evernight is powerful, we don't know that she's gonna reshape the world, but this imagery does look pretty convincing, I'll say, sure does. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out because it would be pretty cool if Hoyo straight up actually told us the plot before we even went there. Now, Skrullum has some important lines in this recent story, and I need to point out that Herta and Skrullum both were around for both mechanical wars. They're both super duper old as heck, okay? They know both Ruperts. They know this whole entire situation. They're as intertwined with this situation as basically Lygus is, okay? And Skrullum tells Herta to not let personal interest distract her when a choice needed to be made on Amphorius, and in a later scene warns the Trailblazer that Lygus is not to be trusted. This was, of course, before the Trailblazer knew for sure that Lygus was up to shenanigans. So Skrullum already knows who Lygus is, the type of person they are, and warns her not to let personal interest distract her when a choice needed to be made, and they all have history with Rupert and this whole situation going on. Though Skrullum saying this to Herta and warning the Trailblazer would make sense if Skrullum, Genius Society number 76, picked up on what's going on and realized Lygus might be another variant of Rupert I. Just a hunch though. Likely in our boss fight with him, he undergoes yet another transformation and ascends mid-boss fight. In fact, what we're looking at here is possibly a mid-fight combat assist moment from the story characters in the story with us when we were fighting him, just like our fight on Penacony and on the Xianzhou. It would make for a pretty sick cutscene before the final phases of the boss fight, and be a similar theme to how other bosses have gone, like Sunday or Kekolia's transformations. Anyways, there's a lot more lore and theories to go over. Star Rail's popping off right now, so like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.